In the heart of a forgotten suburban neighborhood, where overgrown lawns whispered tales of abandonment, stood a dilapidated house cloaked in shadows, its shattered windows veiled in cobwebs, silently narrating the passage of time. In the face of its eerie presence, four daring souls, Jake, Mia, Ben, and Emma, heard there were many valuable items in the old house. Their eyes sparkled with anticipation, their minds clouded by greed, as they dared to tread where many had feared to. The house's silent invitation beckoned them, drawing them into its embrace. As they crossed the threshold, the air seemed to grow heavier, a sense of foreboding wrapping around them like a shroud. The creaking floorboards seemed to protest their intrusion, echoing through the murky halls like a haunting lament. Unfazed, they pressed on, their greed fueling their courage. They navigated the halls, scavenging for valuables they could sell. As the trespassers ventured deeper into the house, an inexplicable sense of foreboding settled in the air. Shadows stretched and twisted as if alive, and the house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Panic gripped the intruders as they realized their escape routes were cut off. Windows had transformed into impenetrable barriers, and the doors stood resolute against their pleas. Their greedy quest for riches had led them into a trap, a labyrinthine nightmare from which there was no escape. Hidden in the house, obscured by shadows, the owner, a meticulous serial killer known only as the Obsidian Collector, watched his unwitting victims through concealed cameras. His eyes, cold and calculating, observed their growing terror with a perverse delight. His lair, a maze of secret passages and hidden chambers, served as the perfect stage for the chilling game of cat and mouse that was about to unfold. Hallways shifted, trapping the intruders in an ever-changing maze that defied the laws of architecture. The house, an entity of its own, played a sadistic game, toying with the trespassers' deepest fears. Mia, a fiery spirit with a heart of gold, found herself locked in a shrinking room. The walls closed in, each inch they moved amplifying her claustrophobia, making the air heavier, her breaths shallower. Ben, the skeptic of the group, was forced to confront the eerie apparitions that sprung from his darkest nightmares. His disbelief was challenged, his resolve shaken, as he stared into the eyes of his spectral tormentors. Emma, the voice of reason, was plunged into a world of paranoia. The house whispered, its words curling around her mind, questioning her sanity, her reality. And Jake, their leader, found himself confronted with the cruel manifestation of his guilt. The house morphed his regret into a tangible specter, a reminder of his ill-fated decision. The Obsidian Collector reveled in the psychological torment, orchestrating terror that shattered the intruder's resilience. Unveiling himself from the shroud of shadows, the Obsidian Collector stood tall, a gaunt figure bathed in the dim, ominous light. His eyes, devoid of empathy, sparkled with a sadistic pleasure that sent chills down their spines. He reveled in their despair, their fear feeding his twisted sense of satisfaction. The confrontation was the climax of his grand performance, a symphony of terror composed meticulously over hours of relentless pursuit. The intruders, once motivated by greed, now stood on the precipice of madness. Their sanity, threadbare and teetering, crumbled under the weight of their fears. The voices in the walls grew louder, the whispers morphing into screams that echoed in their minds, driving them to the brink of insanity. Their unity fractured, and their trust shattered. The Obsidian Collector watched as they succumbed to their own madness, turning on each other in a brutal betrayal. He watched as their madness led them to turn on each other, brutally slaying their friends.